Hi everyone, and welcome back. I have Filip back with me. He was here a few weeks ago. So if you want to watch that interview, I'm going to post a link in the description so you can go straight to that one as well. And it was funny because many of you had questions with regards to the cooking status of Filip's food, and we didn't really get to that at all in the previous interview, actually. So I asked if he would like to come back and talk about that alone. So here we are with part 2. Welcome back, Filip.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again, Pim.
You're welcome. So first of all, can you just talk us through the timeline here? Because you've been carnivore for nearly 4 years, and you started on a cooked carnivore diet, and when you started, well, a zero carb diet, if you like, and then you obviously transitioned to a more of a raw, rotten meat diet. And if you just want to talk us through how long it took you, why you made these decisions, etc.
Sure. Yes. So I started off as cooked carnivore, as most people do, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was cooked for roughly a year. And I think I ate cooked just because, raw didn't really exist as an idea to start with. Yeah. So, because everything about diet and so on was very new to me. So this idea about cook or raw was never something I crossed my mind for the first 6 months or so, maybe. And then I came across one article online. There's one guy he had been doing it for almost a decade, I think, eating only raw meat. I think his name is Derek.
Yeah.
Derek something.
Yeah, I know the one.
Okay, yes. So, if you Google for Derek and raw meat, I think you will find it.
Yeah, you probably
so I read his article, and it seemed very strange for me at the time when I first came across it. And then also, I had obviously seen, in this community, Sverige is very popular or famous, I guess. So everybody knows about Sverige, the YouTuber. So he's known in the carnivore community, I think. And so I had seen his videos, and I knew that he was eating raw meat. So I think from those two people, that's where I sort of was first exposed to this idea. But I was very skeptical at first because of obviously the health issues. So everyone tells you that you get sick from raw meat. But still, these two people claim to be living good on this. So there was this discrepancy between what people told me or what I read from other sources and what these two people said. So that's basically how I came across the idea, I think. And then I decided basically to just give it a try to see if it was worth anything. I remember I had my first dinner one day, and so this was roughly like 1 year after going carnivore. And so I had dinner that it consisted of ground beef and raw eggs. And I had this for dinner, and then directly afterwards, I felt this very strong sense of euphoria. So it just came to me like directly afterwards, and it lasted for maybe 10, 20 minutes. And then I realized that this has to be good. So if food can make you feel euphoric, it has to be good for you. So I could never expect this to happen. So. But still, I felt very happy afterwards. But I was still like later on in the evening, I was still cautious about this health. Like maybe I was sort of sensing if I was starting to feel bad from it or anything, but I didn't feel anything of this. So I decided, the next day to just try raw again, and I felt more or less the same thing. So and from there on, I just decided to eat everything raw. So it was this like extension of the carnivore experiment, as I think of it. So yes, so why I stayed with raw was because how I felt from it.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So you didn't start it because you had read somewhere that it might help you with some issue that you had. You just read and got curious. Is that how?
Yes, more or less. So because I just wanted to explore, and mainly because there is this I mean, humans, we're the only species who only eat cooked foods. So I saw these two people, Sverige on YouTube and this Derek, and they were eating raw meat. So if what they said were true, then it didn't really make sense what other people said, that you get sick from it. And especially since humans, we're the only species who cook food. So I think it made me interested because of this conflict of sort of ideas and what people said about this diet.
Yeah. Do you still feel euphoric when you're eating food?
No, not as much anymore. So I think my body got used to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it happens sometimes maybe, and much less.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first 2-3 weeks, it was just, I felt amazing. It was just very, very strange. So yeah.
How much did you cook your food before that, just out of interest?
I think I cooked it very much, actually, because I was eating a lot of, I think it's chuck rolls. I think that's the English word for it. So it was very beef. Mm-hmm. So it was very tough. And so I boiled my meat quite a lot to make it more tender.
Yeah.
So I was cooking it quite heavily because I didn't live off of ribeye, ribeyes as many, or what I've heard many carnivores do. Yeah. So mainly because I thought it was too expensive. So I bought these cheaper cuts that were pretty tough. So I had to boil them for 1 or 2 hours to make them more tender. So I was, pretty heavy on the cooking.
Did you not get any upset stomachs from just swapping like that from very heavily cooked meat to raw all of a sudden?
No, nothing. So I just felt, except from this euphoria feeling, I didn't really feel anything in my stomach I didn't really feel anything after I ate.
Nice.
From my stomach. So it felt, if anything, it just felt more natural. So because it felt more natural because I didn't feel anything in my stomach after eating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And have you ever felt like, oh my God, it's not cooked, and kind of freaked out in your head because it's raw? I imagine that a lot of people are doing that. My boyfriend can kind of do that.
Yes, sure. I mean, there is this mental barrier, I think. Yeah. So because when it's raw, it looks very different from when it's cooked or fried.
Yeah.
Because it's so it's very different in a sense. So So I was sort of hesitating a little bit in the beginning because it was so different from what I was eating before and what anyone else was eating. So I mean, carnivore to begin with is pretty sort of extreme or non-mainstream, and then going raw is even more extreme. So
I totally hear you there. Have you ever gotten sick?
Never.
No.
So I mean the opposite. So I got more healthy from it. So so I've been eating. I've lived exclusively on raw meat for almost 3 years, and I've never had any health issues whatsoever. And I've tried many different. So now I only eat beef, but I've tried like chicken and pork, and I mean all different animals raw, and I never felt anything bad from it. So I was very surprised to find this, but that's how it's been so far.
That's super interesting. So do you prepare the meat in any way, like having lemon juice or vinegar or something on it, or are you just eating it as it is?
No, I eat it straight from, what I do is I buy ground beef. Mm-hmm. So packaged in half kilo packages, so it's vacuum sealed. So I just cut open the plastic container and then just eat it straight as it is. So
what about the chicken?
Or no salt or anything. No.
No salt. Okay.
No salt.
Never.
I did salt in the beginning, like the first 6 months when I still was cooked, because I read online that you need to eat salt because it's important, and so I was stuck with salt. But then I got too thirsty from it, so I didn't feel good from it.
Interesting.
So in the beginning, I didn't feel so much, but after a while, this taste became so strong, and then I was just got super thirsty from it.
Wow.
So I just stopped, and then it felt better.
That's very interesting. So my preparation question was more geared towards chicken and pork, because you always hear about chicken got salmonella, pork got other parasites in it. Do you do anything to any type of meat, or you just eat it?
No, and I've seen articles that claim that these bacteria and parasites are good for you. So I don't know what is really true, but all I know is that I never got sick from it. And yes, some are. I mean, most articles would say these are unhealthy to eat, like these parasites and certain bacteria, and a few articles say could be beneficial. So I don't know what is true, but all I know is that I never got sick from it.
Yeah. So. No, my brain is just because I trained as a chef when I was young, and my brain is just like, chicken, no, can't do it.
Yes.
Because I'm eating a lot of. If I cook my meat, which I usually just sear it on the outside, and it's pretty much raw, so the outside is cooked and everything else is raw. And I've always liked my meat rare or blue, so for me it's not a big step to go to the red meat. But when it comes to pork and chicken, my brain is still having like alarm bells, and I'm a little bit scared, especially of chicken, not so much of pork. But yeah, it's very interesting. So thank you for that.
I don't know. I think it's sort of, I'm not sure, but I think it depends on what the animal ate also. So if you eat raw meat from a sick animal, maybe it will be worse. I'm not sure about this. So I'm pretty cautious about the quality of meat.
Yeah.
So I only eat grass-fed beef, for instance. So I think it's better if you eat the meat of a healthy animal.
Yeah.
In general.
Absolutely.
So
someone actually asked, I know we talked about that last time a bit, but when you are socializing with your friends and you eat out, you now eat cooked food, or do you always go for, if they have any alternative, or what would you eat?
No, now I was actually in the restaurant yesterday, and yesterday I had a perfectly normal meal, so I just ate what they had from the menu.
Yeah.
Yes. So like I said in this previous interview, that I don't really care if I go out once in a while about this.
No.
But what I do notice is that if I eat cooked food and regular food, like also plant foods, so after I got home from the restaurant yesterday, I had to have kilo of raw meat because I didn't really feel full. So
just a kilo.
Yeah. So I noticed that maybe it's my body is so used to eating all this raw meat all the time, but it's like the regular food is not so nourishing, I feel, anymore. So I still feel full or hungry after I go out for restaurants. So, and we had like a 3-course dinner, so it's quite a big dinner, but still I was very hungry when I got home.
Yeah.
So.
And the raw liver, was that a problem in the beginning? Because that could be quite strong smelling, I imagine, when you haven't been doing that.
Yes. So I eat raw liver every day, and so I have to say that raw liver was quite a sort of an acquired taste.
Yeah.
So in the beginning I ate it just because I knew it was very nutritious, but I couldn't really say that I enjoy it. But now I enjoy it, and now I can taste. From what I understand, the liver is very sensitive in the animal. So if the animal is healthy, the liver will be sort of reflecting this very well. And if the animal is unhealthy, this will also be very present or reflected in the liver. So especially for liver, I can taste if it's bad or good. And if it's good, it's very sweet. And if it's not so good, it's not that sweet.
Yeah.
So this is something I've noticed over time, that if the liver is good, it's very sweet in taste. And this is also why I wanted to not have any seasoning or salt or anything in my raw food, because I wanted to taste what the actual meat or liver, what it actually tastes like.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to be masked by other flavors of any sort. To be able to sort of, I will try. My idea was to sort of try to be able to tell the quality of meat by just the taste alone.
Yeah.
So yeah. But liver was an acquired taste. But now it's, yeah, like I said, it's sweet if it's a good liver.
Good to know. If I ever get there, I've tried to make liver pate from chicken livers. Works fine and it tastes good to me. They are much milder. But then I tried lamb's liver and it was really like sitting in the back of the throat.
Okay.
I forced myself to eat it for a few days, but as it ages, it kind of gets stronger, and I just gave it to the dogs, and they were happy.
Okay, sure.
So now I'm back to chicken.
There's a constant discussion around liver or organ meats in general, because some people, from what I read, they really dislike liver and they feel bad from it. I don't know if this is because of what the animal ate, if there is something in this is reflected in the liver, or if it's something intrinsic that they can't really handle liver. Yes, so some people have problems with liver, but I certainly don't.
Oh, that's good.
Happy with this.
I used to love liver pate as a kid.
Yes, me too.
It's always been hard for me. I've tried it so many times, but what I notice is if I'm actually soaking it in water for like 12 hours at least, then it's a lot better. So I'm going that way. We'll see where I end up.
Okay. Do you like it better if it's soaked in water?
Yeah, I think it just draws the blood out, and it kind of gets milder tasting. So I'll keep experimenting. I've said that many times I'm going to try to make high liver. I'm imagining though that the dogs are going to be happy. I can't see myself actually eating a lot of that, but I'm going to try it just for the sake of it. So just a question before we go into the high liver. How much liver do you actually eat every day? Because you said you eat it every day.
Yes, I think I eat roughly like 100 or 150 grams.
That's a lot of liver.
So I ate, yes, it's something like this. I haven't measured really, but I eat it every day and roughly these amounts. And I've been doing this for, I think for as long as I've been eating raw, so almost 3 years.
That's great, because I was actually discussing this with my boyfriend the other day, and I said, if you were listening to the RDAs, you would be having like vitamin A toxicity if you ate about 50 grams of liver per day. I bet there are so many people that are eating a lot more liver than that. So that's probably bullshit.
Yes.
You look quite healthy to me. So
yes, I mean, if anything, I'm low on vitamin A, and I don't know about this. What I've heard is you can get this vitamin toxicity from if you eat polar bear liver. I've never tried that, but as far as beef liver is concerned, so this risk of eating too much, I don't think it's a real concern, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know how much there is in polar bear liver, but most people don't eat that. And
no. From what I've heard, it's a lot more than in beef liver.
Yeah.
But again, this is when you read up on this like vitamin toxicity, it's usually that you always end up with this reference that polar bear liver is dangerous, and I don't eat it. So
that's interesting. So maybe they missed something. Maybe it's something else or a combination of things. I don't know.
Yes, and also when you find these references for this, they're also very old. So they are reported very long time back in history. So I don't know if it's what's right or wrong here, but I don't have any problems with eating too much liver in terms of getting too much vitamin into me.
Well, that's actually really good to know, because I wanted to ask someone who has been eating a lot of liver for a period of time, and I think you fit that bill, actually. And when I was training as a chef, I always remember, because you get all this training, this is how you should feed old people, then how you should feed these people. And since old people kind of used to like liver, at least the people that were old when I was 20, so 20 plus years ago. And we always told, yeah, you can, if you're ever gonna working in a, you know, nursing home, etc. Maybe serve liver once, maybe twice a week, but that's kind of dangerous.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. This is. I mean, this is very different from what I ate.
Yes. And obviously old people would probably struggle to absorb it all as well, so it probably would be even safer and better for them. But
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that nowadays they probably don't even get liver. So
No, no, I don't think so. No.
probably
I mean,
not.
organ meat in general is not very. It's not very fashionable to eat.
No.
So, I mean, for me, it's good because it means that the organs are very cheap, also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, mm.
For some reason, liver is always more expensive than other organs. But there you go.
Yes, like this.
I don't know if
But,
that's the case in Sweden.
yes, I mean, okay. So I honestly, I don't really look at the price tag anymore on what I eat. I used to be very. I was looking very much on the price tag before, but now I think of everything that I eat. Before I saw everything as a cost, basically. So it was a cost when you went to the grocery store, but now I think it's as an investment. So
Awesome.
because I will never get sick in the future, I believe.
Yeah.
That's how I feel in a way. So for me, it's just whenever I go to the grocery store, it's just an investment. So I don't really care about the price so much.
Good.
So yeah.
Awesome. Are you eating lunch at work?
I used to bring lunch for work. Now I'm just eating once a day.
Okay.
But I switched jobs a year ago. So when I was new at my work and I brought my lunchbox, I got a lot of questions, obviously.
What was in that box?
Just raw ground beef.
Okay, that's your go-to, pretty much.
Yes, yeah. So what I eat is now I only eat raw ground beef and raw liver and raw suet. That's my staple dinner or staple food. And then sometimes I switch it up with some bone marrow instead, and kidneys sometime. But my default is default is ground beef and liver and suet. So
you never have a raw steak or something like that? No.
I do, but I prefer ground beef because it's just more convenient, basically.
Right.
So
might have to try that.
I like the taste better also. So because what they do with the ground beef, they take all the parts that are not worth making finer cuts from. So you get like everything that is left over. And so I think it has like better nutrient balances because of this, because it's just not just one part of the animals, it's just a mixture of everything that is left over. So so I like the taste very much of this the ground beef that I buy, so it's good.
That's awesome. And I was also thinking, you know, you never know what goes in there, but at the same, because when you said that you started with ground beef, and I thought, that's a weird choice, because you're always being cautioned with ground beef to eat it raw because it has been going through the process of being ground up, etc., and therefore you could have a lot of bacteria being introduced to it. So in theory, that should be less safe than having a sirloin steak or whatever.
Yes. I also eat rotten meats. I don't know if we will come to this later, but so this whole bacteria thing is not a concern for me because I let the food rot. So yeah.
Okay, tell me about it. Tell me about how you let the food rot. Do you have a plan, or do you just like open the package and let it stand there? What's going on?
Yeah, so I've been experimenting with different techniques or variants of this. So what I mainly do is that for now I've been just putting ground beef in the fridge, and I just keep it there for a few months. And because the temperature is lower in the fridge, the fermentation or the rotting process takes longer compared to if I leave it outdoors or in room temperature. But I've tried both, so I've just kept it on the kitchen sink, and then it's obviously starts to rot much faster than if I keep it in the fridge. And yeah, so this is, I mean, the rotten meat or the high meat is also like something I came across by, there's a guy, his name was Augenes Wonder Planets. So those of you who know about high meat, you will know about him, but his name was Augenes Wonder Planets, and he was a big proponent of eating rotten meat. So I think he lived exclusively on rotten meat, so raw and rotten. Yeah. So he claimed there was a lot of health benefits to rotten meat, and the sort of the scientific argument for rotten meat would be that we were, I mean, before humans became hunter-gatherers, I mean, obviously we were plant eaters at some point when we were apes, and then we transitioned to hunter-gatherers. And during this transition phase, we didn't directly jump to being hunters. So intermediate step was that we were scavengers. So we were eating rotten and dead animals. And so in this sense, we would be well adapted to this, and also that we would benefit from eating rotten meat. So Augenes Wonder Planets was a big proponent of this, for I think partly for this reason. And also humans, we have very strong stomach acid. So the pH value, I think, is around 1, so it's very strong. So if you compare pH values in stomach acid with different animals, we end up in the same range as other scavenger animals like vultures and these animals. And regular carnivore animals like cats, they would have higher pH value, like 2, 3. And herbivores, they have even higher, so maybe 5, 6, or even 7 from what I've read. So humans, we end up together with other scavengers, and we wouldn't have this low pH value if it wasn't necessary, because the stomach acid is part of the immune system. So the idea is that it will kill off the bacteria that you eat. So if you're a scavenger and eat rotten meat, you will be exposed to potentially harmful bacteria, so you need something that kills it off. Yeah. And the stomach acid will do that for you. So yes, so this is partly why I've also been trying to experiment with the rotten meat, because of what these sort of evolutionary sort of evidence that you can claim are true, and then together with Augenes. So this also came out as an experiment, so sort of continue from raw meat to rotten meat. Yeah. I've tried it a few times, and I can't say that I felt any different from raw meat. So the taste was obviously very different, but I didn't really feel very different. So I don't know if rotten meat is better or fermented meat is better than raw meat. I can't really tell, but I know for sure that I don't get sick from it. So
do you do it the way you would do like sauerkraut? You just put the lid on it and you pretty much let it stand and do anything?
Yes. I don't really do anything. I just let it sit in the fridge, and the way it's bought in the plastic container.
Okay.
Yes. So I have in my fridge, I have a kidney that has been sitting for, I think it's almost 1.5 years.
Holy shit.
So I tried it for the first time after 1 year. So it had been sitting in the fridge for 1 year, and I ate it. And for the kidney, I actually liked it better when it was rotten or fermented or fresh, because then you get more of this fermentation flavors. Mm-hmm. So it hides some of the kidney taste.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And do you get the same sort of fermentation flavor that you said with all types of meat?
I think I do. I don't know if I could tell so much of a difference. I like what happens is when I eat liver, I buy like a big piece of liver and then I cut it up into small pieces and then I put it in a plastic container in the fridge. Yeah. And when I just put it in the fridge, it's still fresh. So then I start to eat of it, and eventually, when I get to the bottom of the container, it has been sitting in the fridge for like almost 2 weeks, and at that point, it has started to sort of ferment, I think, and then it tastes like yogurt. So I like this taste. I like very much. So so towards the end of the liver that I have prepared, it tastes almost like yogurt. So it's I guess it's similar fermentation process as to like actual yogurt, because it has very similar taste.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what bacteria you have in there, but clearly must have some similar.
Yeah, I mean, this is consistent. So every time I do this with liver, it just ends up tasting like yogurt. With ground beef, it's not like this from my experience. So, wow.
So what does it taste like, the ground beef?
It tastes like sour. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's we have in Sweden where I live, we have this dish. It's called surströmming, which is rotten herring.
I was going to ask you about that.
Sorry?
I was going to ask you about that. Yes. Go on.
Yes, so this is a very famous dish, especially in northern Sweden. And when I ferment or let the ground beef rot, it has the same taste to this rotten herring that we have. And it's just sour. So in Swedish, it's surströmming, and sur is sour in Swedish. So we call it sour herring. And this is pretty much what it tastes. Also, the ground beef tastes very similar.
Does it also smell similar?
Yes, pretty much, yes.
What does your girlfriend think about that?
It's very bad. Yes. So I try to when in the beginning, when I started with this, my girlfriend at the time, I just had to hide it. So I mean, I started it as an experiment, and then after like 2 weeks, she noticed that something started to smell. So I had to abort. But if I ferment in the fridge, it doesn't really smell. So
okay,
it's fine. So, but yes, I mean, my neighbors also. I want to still be friends with my neighbors.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And actually, just because I was going to ask you about it, I know I have one follower that is Norwegian that sent me this one before. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share the screen. Another YouTube video where they're actually trying surströmming. Just for those of you who don't actually know what it tastes like. Let's see if I can find it now. So these are two Norwegian guys, and they're just gonna try this surströmming. So I'm gonna play that for you. I think.
Okay. Okay. Oh. Hej. Jeg kan gå. Ja. Hej her.
Okay, let's stop that before the real puking starts.
That's very funny.
Let's see. I'm gonna have to turn this off on my. Sorry.
I've seen a similar clip where they open a can of surströmming and then give it to a dog, and the dog pukes as well.
Poor dog.
Oh, it's fine.
This is why my head is just like, how can you put yourself through that? Why would you want to eat something that smells so bad? Wouldn't that really go against all your instincts to actually put that in your mouth?
Yes, I mean, it's very counterintuitive. So, I mean, everything says that you should not eat rotten meat, of course. But then what I should say is that the smell, it kind of smells different from what it tastes like. So the taste is very good, I think, whereas the smell is not so good all the time.
Yeah.
So it's different. The smell and the taste is different.
Yeah, it's just that my brain is like, if it smells bad, it must be bad.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's the normal way to react, I think.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, so was this also just an experiment? Like, okay, it's probably good for me, so I'm going to try it, and then it's kind of stuck with you. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, because I mean, when I see these people doing things online, and it's interesting to experiment, basically. So all this is just an experiment from my side, and I just and feel very good from it. So that's why I continue.
Yeah.
I don't do so much rotten meat, mainly because of the convenience. So it takes more time,
Yeah.
and I don't really feel any different from it. So I do it just from time to time, and only because it just takes time.
Yeah.
So eating just fresh raw meat is just more convenient. So that's why I do it.
Fair enough. So you mentioned this about you not salting your food.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a conscious choice, or was it just purely because you wanted to taste the food better, and then you noticed that you actually felt better? What happened?
Yes, it was mainly because of what I said, that I just started to feel so thirsty from it.
Yeah.
And I think my body got a little bit like swollen because I got so thirsty and I was just drinking all this water.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it retained too much water in my body. And then also just logically, it didn't really make sense to consume all this salt, because again, if you look at how humans presumably lived or ate like 1 million years ago, where would they access all this salt? So it didn't really make sense to me that we were dependent on this like mineral. And so because of that, I mean, what we eat now, okay, sure, there are sea salt, right, you can buy. But this other regular salt, I mean, it wasn't available like 500,000 years ago. So why it didn't really make sense to me why we would be all this dependent on this. I know some animals, they seek out salt, but from what I understand, they're mainly like herbivores or plant eaters. I don't know of any carnivore animals that actually need to sort of supplement on salt. So, and when I stopped, I just felt better in general. So for me, this experiment has been mainly just trying to remove as much as possible. Yeah. So first I just removed all the plants, and then I removed, together with that, eggs and dairy, and then I removed the cooking part, and then I removed seasoning and salt, and from everything I removed, I just felt better, basically. So
even salt. That's so funny, because you're my opposite. I eat a lot of salt, I always done, and I drink almost nothing, and I'm fine. I'm literally your opposite.
Yes. I drink quite a lot of water, actually, that I do.
Very, very strange.
I hear theories that some claim that it's unhealthy to drink water because, again, this is not what animals in general do so much. But for me personally, I feel I need to drink water.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak from my experience, but I have 2 dogs. They are 7 and 9 years old, and both of them have been fed raw meat and bones since they were puppies. Mm-hmm. And I used to have a dog walker, and she kept filling the water bowl up, and I'm like, my dogs barely drink, because they get all the water content comes from the meat, basically. They do drink, but not a lot. And she couldn't get her head around it. It's a bit funny. When you feed them dry kibble, of course they're going to drink. But when you actually eat raw meat, you get a lot of fluid that way. So it makes sense. One thing I'm wondering. Yeah, sorry.
So your dogs are basically not consuming water.
A little bit. If it's hot outside, they probably drink more. If it's a lot of bones, they drink more. If it's mostly meat, they don't drink so much. So it depends a little bit on what I feed them. They do get some, scraps off the plate sometimes, and then it's salt on. Then you will notice that they go and drink. So they kind of adjust. But compared to normal dogs, they barely drink at all, I would say. They say you have to fill it up the water bowl every day, and I probably do it like once a week. I shouldn't say that, because you're supposed to clean them out, but I forget about it because I never have to fill it up. It's pretty much never empty. One question, what was I going to say? Yeah, with regards to fluids. So do you ever consume like blood or something like that? Because blood contains a lot of electrolytes.
Yes, I did in the beginning. So I consumed I think I did this for like 6 months maybe when I started with raw, and I consumed blood every day. So I was drinking. So I bought it in the supermarket, and then I would get. But again, what happened is that this thing with salt came back, because when you bite, at least here in Sweden, they always mix the blood with salt for some reason. So here it's frozen when it's sold. So you buy it frozen and then you defrost it at home. But it just got too salty for me in the end. So I stopped with it. So if I can find like raw blood without any added salt, I would think of drink it like every day. But I had to stop because it was just too salty in the end, unfortunately. So
yeah. I'm fascinated. I've never seen blood in the freezers, even when I lived in Sweden. I'm like, whoa, really? I didn't know we had that.
They have these, it's like these plastic containers, like half a liter of blood. So,
okay. Maybe because I haven't been looking, but there you go. Apparently you can buy it in the supermarket. And what does it taste like? Salty.
Yes, it's salty, but also, what's interesting was when I had beef blood, it tastes like, okay, I guess it tastes like your own blood. So it tasted like blood. So it was very familiar taste. And then I was able to buy some blood from, I think it was caribou, is that the word of the animal? Like deers, these, not moose or elks, but...
what's the Swedish word?
Ren.
A reindeer.
Oh, is it reindeer? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so reindeer blood. Yeah. And the reindeer blood was very different because it tasted like what I assume they are eating. Like, again, I don't know the English word, like these
old leaves and moss.
Yes. Like, I mean, you could taste that they had not been eating mainly grass. So this was interesting to note because it was very different. So it felt like what a sort of forest would taste like, I guess. Mm-hmm. So you could really taste the difference in their diet from what the blood tastes like. That's
interesting. Very strange. Mm-hmm. It's like a whole new concept to me. I'm like, whoa, drinking blood, that's a little bit yucky, isn't it?
Yes, it's especially because if you have had like nosebleed or something, like it sort of reminds you of this and this. So in the beginning at least, but then with everything else you get used to it. So
yeah, I'm just trying to remember what blood actually tastes like. To me, it's kind of irony, like very iron tasting. I don't know, and maybe a little bit sweet actually, when I think about it. But I don't know.
I mean, it tastes. I always loved the blood pudding when I was a kid.
Me too.
But obviously, in blood pudding, you mix it up with so many other things. So
oh god, yeah.
It doesn't really taste anything similar to blood pudding.
Well, they do have black pudding in England and here as well, and it's similar tasting, but not quite as good. And they put a lot of strange things, like I think they have. Can't remember if it's rye in or something like that. I think it was like whole pieces of it. And like that's strange. I just want it smooth.
Yeah, they put in a lot of filler materials, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry?
Oh yeah, yes. I was just this came across my mind. I tried the brain one time, and this was very, very good. So I was able to get access of a lamb's head, and I could get the brain. And the taste of brain was very, very sweet and mild. Okay. So this taste was very, very good. So it's almost like if you ate seafood or something like that. It was very, very. It didn't taste anything like I thought it would taste like. So brain I really recommend in terms of taste. It's very good.
I think I'm more scared of the consistency there.
Yes, yes. Again, it's because we're so unused to all these organ meats. So it's very strange when you look at it the first time and then you think that, oh, I'm going to eat this. So you need, just mentally, you need to sort of adapt to it.
Yeah.
And this is, I think it's harder for some people than others maybe, but it's sort of it's a step mentally that you just think of it as food, which is not what you think of the first time you see a brain.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you ate that raw as well.
Sorry?
I'm assuming that you ate the brain raw as well.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah. The only thing I've had is like some people can't eat mushrooms because they have a strange consistency, and I feel a little bit about that way about bone marrow. It's just really, I don't know. And I know I've had sweetbreads once, and it was the same thing. And I was thinking at the time, this must be what brain is like to chew on. But I have no idea whether that's true or not. It's just kind of programmed into my head. Like, nah, don't like it. I don't think I dislike the taste. I just dislike the consistency of it. So I have a few questions here from my followers, but before that, just have you eaten anything else that is really, really strange that most people will be like, whoa?
No, I think in terms of rotten organ meats, nothing beyond that. Okay. So I'm still at this point. It's just it's been such a great experience, but it's also a bit sad because there's not so much more to explore. So I think I've tried most of it as far as I know. But
yeah.
Someone can give me a tip on what I need to try.
Yeah, okay. If you have some crazy shit, send it Filip's way.
Yes.
Awesome.
Your suggestions.
Yeah. Oh, that's we need the guinea pigs. That's good. I like it. So
yes.
I have one question there. Does raw or rotten meat help heal depression? Do you know?
I think so. I think so because I feel much happier now. I feel much happier now than I did when I started all this carnivore. And I think I feel much happier from eating raw than cooked, partially because of this euphoria thing. Mm. So because it's sort of, I don't know if it triggers some hormones in the body or, so in general, I feel very, very good, like mentally. And I did this, I also felt very good on cooked meat, of course, but I mean, I think this thing with the euphoria aspect, this is what happened to me. So I believe this is mentally something very important.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're really depressed, of course, there are more factors than just diet, of course. But
yeah, I can't say that I've had the euphoric experience, but what I can say is that because I'm eating a lot of carpaccio because I like it, and I do have a little bit of balsamic vinegar and olive oil just because I really love that. A lot of salt, sorry. But I love the consistency of it and I love the taste of it, and I can just eat and eat and eat. I can eat massive amounts of it and I feel good the whole way eating it. Not so much afterwards, I don't notice any difference, but when I'm having like a cooked steak, I get full much quicker and I'm getting bored of the taste and I'm like, nah, it doesn't taste so good to me anymore. It's just that the raw, I can just keep eating it for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's just, I prefer it maybe.
No, it's very similar to me actually. So with raw, you just can eat and eat until you're not hungry anymore. And I've tried many times to just overeat, to just keep eating and eating, and I never feel bad from it or anything. It just, I feel very, very full and just very satisfied. But it's never this, like if you eat regular food, then if you eat too much, you can feel like really nauseous and feel very bad from it.
Yeah.
For me, this has never happened on raw meat. So I just keep eating just to see if I can eat too much, but I really can't. So, yeah.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, so then I had a few questions, like how many meals per day are you eating? But you said you're eating once a day now?
Yes, so now once a day. I think for the first 2 years, I ate 2 times a day because I got hungry at lunch. And so since I started, I just eat when I'm hungry. And for the first 2 years, I got hungry at lunch, and then I would get hungry in the evening. Now I only get hungry in the evening. So I think my body has recovered a lot of nutrients. So it just needs food once a day now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we actually answered all the other questions. It was more about why you're doing it, the difference between cooked and raw. I think we answered those questions. So would you recommend this to people to, you know, try it out? Because you did notice quite a big difference, I guess. Or...
Yes, I mean, what I recommend is that people try this themselves to see if it works for them, basically. So I will not say that it works for everyone who tries it, but it's worth giving it a try.
Yeah.
And one thing that is also, I think is very important actually, besides nutrition, is that it saves you a lot of time.
Oh,
so
yes.
Interested in cooking, I think it saves me maybe 2 hours every day. So I was never interested in cooking, and now I just get 2 extra hours every day. And because there's hardly any cleanup, and you don't need to prepare any food. And grocery store it's very easy to go to the grocery store and just get the meat and then get out. And so it's a huge time saver. So regardless of what you think of the nutrition or if it's healthy or anything, it's just it saves you a lot of time. So if you don't like cooking, then you should also try it.
So what should you look for if you go to the supermarket? Are you going for the organic version? What are you looking for to get the best quality?
I'm only going for the grass-fed. I don't know if this is organic. I think it's organic. I don't know the definition really, but I only eat grass-fed beef as it is now. So it's more expensive, but again, I don't really pay so much attention to the price tag, to be honest.
Yeah. Awesome. So know your source, get some good meat on your hands and try it. Any final words before we finish up?
No, it's again, I recommend everyone to try it themselves and see if it's something that they would enjoy. So yes, so give it a try.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for coming back and clarifying everything about your diet. Clearly, we could talk about that for quite some time as well. I thought this is going to be a short one, but there were many questions popping up there. So thank you so much, Filip.
Thank you for having me again, Pim.
You're welcome.